Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us today. Welcome once again to another event of Ambassador's Lecture Series. We have with us today a very, very distinguished person, a lady diplomat from Africa. And she is the High Commissioner of Nigeria in Singapore, but she will speak to Nigeria and India, key partnership. Nigeria-Indian partnership began even in the 50s, before Nigeria became independent. And these spread across a very broad spectrum of political, social, economic issues. They have always been cordial, friendly, and warm. Nigeria, of course, as you know, is Africa's most populous country with a population of 170 million or so, and extremely rich in or abundant in natural resources. Both Nigeria and India took this partnership very seriously, and India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, traveled to Nigeria in 1962, and since then there have been very significant bilateral visits, among other things, but that's only one point in the interactions. To India, of course, Nigeria is attractive for a variety of reasons, one of which is energy. Nigeria provides almost 20% of India's energy needs, and therefore is also a destination for many Indian firms and companies. We have here a very significant Indian investor, Mr. Changaria, for instance, and we've been talking how deeply involved many Indian community businesses have been in Nigeria in particular, and Africa in general. Nonye Rajesh Akpara, High Commissioner, comes of a very distinguished Nigerian family. Her father worked for a Bulgarian firm. Her mother was well, she's still with us. She was an active politician and the first female councillor from her region. She was born in Imo in Nigeria. She obtained her MA and BA, Masters and Bachelor of Arts from Sofia, Bulgaria. The Bulgarian connection was because her father worked for a Bulgarian firm in Lagos. Thereafter, having obtained these degrees in Bulgaria, she moved to the United States, where she received an MA in Business Administration, Washington, D.C. in the United States, and she also did some courses in England, in King's, was it? Westminster College in London. In her professional life, she is not from what we call career foreign service. She is a political person. She's been managing director, CEO of Rema International, of which she became chairman. She is, we are very pleased to say that, a very close colleague of Prime Minister Goodluck Jonathan, and it was on his instructions that she has come so far to Singapore to establish this mission. I've seen her at work and you know, at play, as we say, and she's extremely passionate and dedicated to her career and to developing Nigeria's relations with not just Singapore, though also that, but the region as well. So with these words, I give you Ambassador Nonye Rajesh Akpara. High Commissioner.
Thank you, Dr. Shari, for that wonderful introduction. It's my pleasure to be here today and share with you the Nigerian-Indian relation as we define it as a key partnership. The Dean, Dr. Cadre, Senior Fellow, Your Excellencies and members of the diplomatic corps here present, members of faculty, staff and students, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by expressing my profound appreciation to Dr. Cadre for inviting me to deliver this lecture. I have known and interacted with him for over a few months following my assumption of duties, and since then have maintained contact. The topic of my presentation today is Nigeria-India, a key partnership.
It's on.
I think maybe.
Yeah, it's on. Well, most of it was praise of this chair, so you can ignore that.
The topic of my presentation today is Nigeria-India, a key partnership. By way of introduction, for the benefit of those in this audience who may not be very familiar with Nigeria, I shall begin with a brief introduction of Nigeria. This will be followed by an explanation of my country's relations with South Asia countries, and lastly, in particular, her relationship with India as an emerging global power and reliable partner. Nigeria occupies a strategic location on the coast of West Africa with an area of 356,669 square miles. Nigeria became independent on 1st October 1960 and a republic in 1963. The country has the largest population in Africa with about 265 million people, thus making 5 people in Africa in Nigeria. Nigeria shares border with Benin to the west, Chad to the north, Cameroon to the east, and Equatorial Guinea southeast, respectively. Nigeria has 36 states, each governed by an elected governor with a House of Assembly. The seat of federal government is in Abuja, which is also the federal capital territory called the FCT. It is the largest democracy in Africa with a multi-party and presidential system of government. With an executive president at the apex, there is a separation of power between the 3 arms of government, the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is His Excellency Dr. Goodluck Ebere Jonathan, who was elected in 2011. He is also the head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He is assisted by a vice president, His Excellency Mohammed Namadi Sambo. Since her independence, Nigeria has continued to maintain warm and excellent bilateral relations with countries of South Asia. Nigeria and most of these countries share similar colonial experiences and are members of the Commonwealth of Nations. I am referring specifically to India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. They are also all members of the United Nations, non-allied movements, group of 15 countries, G77, and the D8 countries, including South-South Cooperation. And within these organizations, Nigeria and South Asia countries have cooperated and continue to cooperate on issues of development, international peace and security, as well as the quest for the restructuring of the United Nations Security Council. It is also important to note that Nigeria, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka have played key roles in the maintenance of international peace and security, especially by providing large contingent troops and police forces for the United Nations peacekeeping operations. Indeed, these countries now provide the bulk of their troops for the UN peacekeeping operation all over the world. Bilateral economic cooperations. With the exception of India and Pakistan's economic cooperations and relations between Nigeria and South Asian countries have not achieved its true potentials. The level of trade is still low, but the renewed effort on all sides, especially at government levels and within the D8 countries, meaning the 8 developing countries, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, Malaysia, Pakistan, and Turkey, and the Commonwealth, including the private sectors, it is expected that there will be an increase in trade and economic activities in the nearest future. It should be noted, however, that people-to-people contacts between Nigeria and these countries has intensified, coupled with the activities of traders who visit these countries to purchase valuable items of trade, such as textiles, pharmaceutical, plastic, and etc. Nigerians are known to be very enterprising and well known for their trading abilities. They operate in the major capital markets in these countries, buying goods for sales in Nigeria. Nigeria is also home to a large population of India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, many from generations who have been there since Nigeria's independence. Many have even naturalized and own big business, especially in the service sectors such as finance and housing. Another area of cooperation is between the armed forces of these countries. The armed forces have similar military tradition and over the years attended military trainings together, exchange programs, and served in UN peacekeeping operations. These have assisted in strengthening cooperation not only within the armed forces, but between these countries. I would now like to concentrate on the relations between Nigeria and India as emerging global power and partners, the main focus of my presentation. Bilateral relations between Nigeria and India. Historical perspectives. Nigeria and India have continued to maintain very friendly and excellent relations, devoid of any major contentious issues. Both have shared colonial experiences, having been former colonies of Britain, and both share similar culture, political affinity. The two countries are also multilingual and operate as major democracies in their respective region. The two countries are members of the Commonwealth, World Trade Organization, Non-Aligned Movement, and also belong to South-South Cooperation, the G5, the G15, Group of 17, and the United Nations. Nigeria and India are strong contenders for permanent seats at the United Nations Security Council. Nigeria and India were at the forefront of the anti-colonial struggles, and in particular the anti-apartheid movement and the white minority rule in Rhodesia, the present-day Zimbabwe. The relations have been based on their shared values and common understanding that South-South cooperation is essential for the economic well-being of the developing nations. Diplomatic relations between the two countries preceded Nigeria's own independence in 1960, as India established a diplomatic mission in Nigeria in November 1958. Nigeria reciprocated the gesture 2 years after independence in 1962. There had been exchange of several visits at the highest level, notably the visit of the Prime Minister, Pandit Nuhu, in September 1962. Since then, there had been an increase in exchange of visits by high government officials of both countries. In the year 2000, President Olusegun Obasanjo undertook a state visit to India as chief guest at the latest 50th Republic Day celebration. In December 2003, Prime Minister Atal Vajpayee attended the Commonwealth Heads of government meeting, that's the Shogom in Abuja, and in October 2007, the state visit of the Indian Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, paid to Abuja, culminated in the signing of Abuja Declaration on Strategic Partnership Agreement to further enhance bilateral cooperation and collaboration between Nigeria and India. The declaration was intended to consolidate bilateral ties by accelerating the pace of trade, consular relations, and investments. As Vice President, President Goodluck Jonathan visited India from 4th to 7th November 2007 to attend the Federalism Conference held in New Delhi. He also, as a Vice President, undertook another visit to India from 4th to 8th April 2008 to attend the India-African Forum Summit held in New Delhi. These visits gave great momentum to existing relations and also helped to boost the confidence of the private sectors of both countries. Bilateral economic trade and investment relations between Nigeria and India. Economic trade and investment relations between Nigeria and India have improved considerably over the years. While the relations between the two had historical and political underpinnings, recent trend marks a dramatic move towards strong economic links. In other words, Nigeria and India have recognized the need to make trade and economic opportunities the central focus and hence take full advantage of existing potential in both countries, and as emerging global partners, powers, and reliable partners. Nigeria continues to maintain the status of being the second largest trading partner of India, largest trading partner of India in Africa. It is also the largest market in Africa for India's exports. According to the High Commission of India in Nigeria, bilateral trade turnover in year 2000 and between the year 2010 and 11 amounted to over 13 billion, a growth of 57%, and it is expected that the figure for the year 2011 and the year 2012 will be over 17 billion, with crude oil accounting for the bulk of the trading. Indian exports to Nigeria consist of pepper, wood products, textiles, plastic, chemicals, machinery, transport equipment, steel, power transmission equipment, drugs, and pharmaceuticals. Nigeria on her part exports cashew nuts, woods, cotton, pearls, robots, gum arabic, and oil to Nigeria. Of particular note is that Nigeria is main source of crude oil import for India. The letter views Nigeria as an important partner in meeting its energy requirements. India imports about 12% of hard crude oil requirement from Nigeria. As a result of the huge import of crude oil from Nigeria, the balance of trade is in Nigeria's favor. It is also reported that about 100 Indian companies are operating in Nigeria. These include Airtel, Airtel, a major telecommunication power provider in Nigeria. Airtel invested $600 million in Nigeria after taking over telecom operating license from Zen. Also, in the recent privatization process of the unbundled companies of the power holdings of Nigeria, Tata Energy bidded as part of the two consortium of Eco Distribution Company, Ikeja Distribution Company, and Benin Distribution Company with expected investment inflow of $600 million. Two Indian IT companies, NITT and Aptech, has invested in IT education with over 42 study centers across Nigeria, where over 75,000 Nigerians have benefited in computer education. Primus Super Specialist Hospital is the premier Indian healthcare provider to operate a hospital in Nigeria with a view of easing the outflow of patients outside Nigeria in search of medical treatment. Other major Indian companies are Bajaj Auto, Madhira, Astok, Leland, the New Indian Assurance, and others. Indian has partnered with NAFDAC in setting up food laboratory testing in Nigeria. Furthermore, a number of Indian companies are participating in the Nigeria upstream sectors of oil and gas. For example, ONGC, Mittal, Sterling, and Esso won the 6 oil blocks during the 2005-2007 Nigerian Oil Block 8, which not only boasts existing trade and investment relationship between the two countries, but to a large measure strengthens the efforts of the two governments to make economies, trade and investment the central focus of their long-term relations. Nigeria is home for a large population of Indian nationals. The High Commission of India to Nigeria estimates that the Indian nationals in Nigeria are over 35,000. More important than the numbers is the fact that the Indian community is well entrenched in Nigeria and they are involved in several local and community projects and activities. Many in the Indian communities are the 3rd and the 4th generation descents. Their grandfathers and their grandparents and their great-grandparents have arrived during the colonial period. Many Indian nationals are now naturalized Nigerians, and most of them are actively involved in general trading and the service sectors, manufacturing, construction, air service, aviation and air service industries and enterprises. In this regard, an Indian national established in 1923 a family business called K. Chalarams, which has become a major group of companies with investments in agriculture and commodities, retailing, manufacturing, motor vehicle. It may surprise you all to know that Olam International Group, a Singaporean company, has its origin in Nigeria, having been established by K. Chalarams. Similarly, Nigerians living in India is estimated to be about 15,000. In 2012, 40,000 Nigerians were issued visa to India, out of which 80% are medical tourists, followed by students, officials, and business travelers. All this shows the extent of the strong ties and bond that exists between Nigeria and India. Government and political relations between Nigeria and India. At government level, there exists a joint commission known as Indian-Nigerian Joint Commission, under which both sides signed an economic cooperation agreement as a legal framework regulating areas of economic cooperation. The Indo-Nigerian Joint Commission was established in 1977 with the objective of facilitating transfers of technology to Nigeria and to enhance technical training of Nigerians by Indians in the field of engineering, and industrial joint ventures. About five sessions of the Joint Commission has been held since its inception, with the recent one held in Delhi in March 2011. The 6th session will be held in Abuja in the 2nd quarter of this year. While the joint venture has remained an important vehicle in fostering economic trade and investment between the two countries, concerted efforts are needed to ensure that follow-up action agreed at these sections are included. Furthermore, as a mark of growing and fruitful relationship, Nigeria and India signed a strategic partnership agreement in the year 2007 during the official visit of the Indian Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, to Nigeria. The Abuja Declaration, as the agreement is known, bestows special privileges similar to most favored nations, status of bilateral relations between the two countries. The following agreements were signed at the Abuja Declaration: MOU between Foreign Service Institute and the Nigerian Foreign Service Academy, the MOU between Nigerian Council for World Affairs and the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, Protocol for Foreign Office Consultations, MOU on Defense Cooperation. It was agreed that to enhance broad-based cooperation, the following agreements will be finalized and signed later: Double Taxation Avoidance Agreement, Bilateral Investment Promotion and Protection Agreement, Bilateral Intergovernmental Science and Technology Agreement, Bilateral Air Service Agreement, Renewal of 1976 Agreement, mutual legal assistance treaty, extradition treaty, trade agreements, agreements on cooperation against trafficking of drugs, cultural exchange program. Nigeria and India plays crucial and influential roles in the international fora such as the UN, Commonwealth, and others on common issues such as development, security, terrorism, drug and human trafficking. In 1990, both countries collaborated on the adoption of the Bilateral Convention aimed at controlling export of dangerous industrial waste and its movements across borders. And as mentioned earlier, both countries developed a deep bond through their united approach to the fight against apartheid in South Africa and white minority rule in Rhodesia, the present-day Zimbabwe. Their views and positions on these global issues carry weight in part because India is endowed with a large population, second only to China, achieved success in the area of technology, information and communication technology, including space. An emerging developing economy. It is a regional power. On its part, Nigeria is both a regional as well as a continental power. Nigeria has the largest population in Africa, and its people are industrious, vibrant, and highly educated, and the largest market in the continent. The country is at the forefront in the effort of monitoring peace and security in the West African region and Africa. It has a growing economy which has become the preferred destination for direct foreign investment. Cultural exchanges. India offers 130 seats under the India Technical and Economic Cooperation quota for Nigeria in 2010 and 2011. After the second African-Indian Forum Summit, Nigeria's ITEC quota for 2011 and 2012 was increased to 190, out of which 177 slots were utilized, while in the year 2012 and the year 2013, 188 slots has been utilized. Indian cultural troupe participates in Abuja Carnival in the year 2010 and 2012 consecutively. There exists informal contract between Nigerian filmmakers, Nollywood, and their Indian counterpart, Bollywood, with a view to partnering in film production and marketing as well as capacity building. Nigerian movies are quite popular in Nigeria and they are regularly telecast in our local televisions. In conclusion, India acknowledges the importance of Nigeria and, in particular, her leadership role in the West African region and Africa. Thus, as she seeks to improve her relations with Africa, stronger ties with Nigeria as a global partner becomes an imperative. Nigeria, as India's largest trading partner in Africa, the potential and opportunities for substantially enhancing trade and investment between the two countries are largely untapped. There is a need to significantly enhance mutually beneficial trade and investment exchanges between the two countries in sectors such as infrastructure, including railways, agriculture and food processing, small and medium enterprises, power generation, fertilizer, ICT, pharmaceutical, automobiles, auto components, and other sectors. The leadership in both countries recognizes the strategic nature of their relationship. Hence, it is expected that Nigeria and India will continue to work to strengthen this partnership to the mutual benefit of the two countries, their respective regions, and the world at large. I want to thank you for listening.
Thank you, High Commissioner, for what is a very comprehensive account of Nigeria's relations with India across, as I said, a very broad spectrum, including economic or largely economic. I will now open the floor for the Q&A sessions, for the cues, for questions, comments, observations from the floor, and would appreciate it very much if you identify yourself as you asked the question. But I will identify Mr. Suryanarayan as Eli returned.
You had said something briefly. You mentioned very briefly. I hope I can be heard. You mentioned very briefly in passing China. And generally there is a perception that China and India are trying to compete with each other for the affections of African nations, in particular a major country like Nigeria. What is the kind of competition that is there in Nigeria between China and India? What are the sectors where they are competing with each other? Or are there any sectors where they are cooperating with each other as well? Thank you.
Nigeria, China and India for Nigeria's affections.
Well, I don't think Nigeria, as we all know, is one of the largest, has one of the largest population in the African continent, and endowed with a lot of both natural and human resources. And I want to say there is a room enough for everybody. China is contending with affection for Nigeria the same as India. But we both share the very bilateral relationship with both countries, and I do not think there is a room for contention, because the areas where China is investing in Nigeria might not be the area where India is interested. Because of its wild and huge population, India, from my presentation, has a lot of relationship in the area of manufacturing and infrastructure, while China is basically actually coming into Nigeria in the area of also infrastructure and in the finance, because they believe they have the money. But I don't think there is a need or there is a cause for alarm, because there's room enough in Nigeria as the most populous country in Africa for both China and India to invest in Nigeria.
Room enough for affections of both India and China. Mr. Nitin Doshi.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, if I may, High Commissioner, I would like to convey the condolences of the government of Comoros and myself as the Honorary Consul of the Comoros on the passing away of the President of Bangladesh last night. High Commissioner, the question to you is more related to the ECOWAS region and how India may use the entry point of Nigeria as a springboard of utilizing, expanding India's external trade with the ECOWAS region. There are certain things, I mean, as you know, when I travel often, but certain things are not known to most of us here. I certainly don't know as to how well developed the market, the ECOWAS common market is in terms of tariff, internal tariffs, for example, between Nigeria and Senegal. And how does it work if, for example, some Indian manufactured goods are supplied to Nigeria for part consumption in Nigeria and from add value in Nigeria and then exported to Senegal? Is there any economic benefit of going that route in terms of lower tariff or zero tariffs?
Well, a product manufactured in Nigeria should be considered actually as a Nigerian product, because if it's the Indian company that is licensed to operate in Nigeria, they equally have the privileges. They have the privileges of enjoying the ECOWAS tariff. So far, the federal government of Nigeria is making sure that investors in Africa enjoys the new tariff and the benefits. So I don't think that's a problem, that it should be a benefit to, it will be easier for an Indian company in Nigeria, manufacturing in Nigeria, to export, to export to any of the African countries without hindrances and without any regulations. Whatever applies to Nigeria as a country within the ECOWAS region applies to the country, the company that is authorized to do business in Nigeria. So there shouldn't be any kind of, it's actually an advantage. It's actually an advantage for the company that is situated in Nigeria, one because of its proximity, one because of Nigeria's relations with the ECOWAS region. So it should be easier for the companies in Nigeria, be it Nigerian company or foreign companies or foreign investors to do and export their goods within the same tariff that Nigeria enjoys to the ECOWAS region.
Well, also, Mr. Bushi, though I do not wear a formal Bangladeshi hat in my present capacity, but as a senior citizen of my country, I should like to thank you as representative of Comoros for the words of condolences that you have expressed on behalf of the government that you represent. Yes.
Thank you. And my name is Keshav. I'm from the Lee Pointing School. Your Excellency, my question is actually in regards to, specifically in regards to the crude oil, the oil industry. And India traditionally has a very big presence. But I think in the past decade, China has made quite a few strides in terms of importing crude oil from Nigeria, although right now it's still very small compared to what is going to India. So I'd just like to ask, do you see the China-Nigeria factor, specifically in oil, affecting the traditional import to India?
I don't think so. Like you know, Nigeria is the 10th largest oil producing country in the world, and a lot of the oil are still untapped. And until tomorrow, we're still discovering so many states that still has oil that has not been tapped into. I believe that Nigeria has enough oil to go around, and that should not in any form hinder its relationship with India and China. Nigeria already has a very long-standing relation with India, and as a key, outside the United States, India is the next largest country that we export our oil to. And I don't think that the entrance of China should be any problem, because Nigeria still has a lot of oil that has not been tapped.
Okay. Earlier on in discussions within ISAS, Gloria Spitel, who was one of our colleagues, young colleagues, had wondered if the activities of Boko Haram has any impact on these developments that you have mentioned, particularly development within Nigeria domestically. Would you like to say a few words with regard to that? Yeah, would you like to add to it, or?
No, I was just wondering how the Nigerian government responds to threat by Boko Haram, and how they themselves are developing as a threat in Nigeria, and what exactly is the position of Boko Haram and the government towards the Boko Haram?
Well, Boko Haram is an internal problem, terrorist problem. If you have been reading the news, you find out that the Nigerian government has tried to contend with the movement of Boko Haram and their attacks. In the last year, every Sunday, or mostly every Sunday, you will hear that it's a bombing of a church in Nigeria, in one part of the country or another. But the government is seriously, the security apparatus in Nigeria has seriously taken that as a priority and has contained, and there's been a lot of arrests on part of the Boko Haram members and their leaders, and their operation at the moment, I can tell you, has been minimized compared to what it used to be. So the government, Nigerian government is actually on top of it, and they are taking it as a priority to contend with the terrorist actions of Boko Haram. And it is not in any way, it is not, their movements or their activities is actually sections to the northern section. So it is not affecting the total movement or economy of the country, but yet people are affected, and people have this tendency of not wanting to travel to that part of the region. But as it is now, people are freely moving from one region to the other, because most of the Boko Haram and their leaders are under the custody of the Nigerian security agents. So it is not as bad as it used to be. But yes, it's a problem.
Yeah, literally, I think, High Commissioner, Boko means Western education, and haram is of course forbidden. So literally it means forbidding of Western education.
They are actually, they want us to believe that they are against Western education. Because in the North are popularly, majority of the northern states are Muslims, and they are saying that they disapprove of the Western education. But I mean, how can you disapprove of Western education? The guns and the things they are using have been manufactured through the Western education and all that, so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and also the leadership of Boko Haram is not quite identified, which is why President Jonathan has called it faceless or ghosts, I think, because the government finds it very difficult to commence negotiations with Boko Haram. Yeah, yes, floor was still open. Yes.
It's more like a follow-up on the last question. If we can expand the canvas to the whole of the region, particularly with Mali, what, High Commissioner, is your prognosis on the troubles that are at the moment mainly limited to northern Mali? And how do you see it affecting the rest of your neighborhood?
I believe that people are trying to make Boko Haram an international terrorist organization, but I want to differ. As a local and Nigerian problem, there might be reason to believe that the recent crisis in Mali, there might be a link, or there is an entrance of the Boko Haram, the terrorist people from Mali. But I want to say that Boko Haram is not, or has nothing to do with the current Mali situation. It's typically a national issue, and it has nothing to do with the Malian uprisings or the Malian problem. So we don't see any threat, we don't see any problem or linkage between the two. Boko Haram is basically just like any other terrorist activities that we have experienced in the past. There was a time before the Boko Haram, they were talking about the South and all that. And the government also contended with that, and as of today, we don't have any more issues. The terrorists from the South have been rehabilitated and back integrated into the society, and I believe the federal government should be able to do the same with the emergency and members of the Boko Haram sect.
Thank you, High Commissioner. Thank you for your very comprehensive remarks and for taking the questions from the floor. The High Commissioner has an engagement, that's why we are closing a little early today, because she will have to be at the Istana around 4:45 or so, and will spend about 30 minutes with us at the tea reception. So she'll still be around for a while, and we can continue, and I invite you all to tea outside, where we can continue this conversation. But before I let you go, High Commissioner, I would like to give you a small token of our appreciation for